Happened there. Oh, it crashed. If I get anybody back, you were just watching it. YouTube crashed. I don't know. Never had that happen. See if we get anybody. Oh, we got one person back. If you guys are just watching, I don't know what happened. Either one crashed or YouTube crashed. Yeah, good point. I just shut my Wi-Fi out, away from the house. That I'm just trying this live thing out. I've never done one, so I don't even know how really it works. That just it just shut off me in that last right in the middle. I'm like that whole app just shut the Wi-Fi up. But so if you just join, I'm playing with live. I've never done a live before, and I'm just trying to see how it works. See if we get any of our followers. See what the audience is. If it's new viewers to the channel, old viewers. Who's actually watching the videos. I get a feel for everything. We plan on doing a lot more of these lives in the future. No plowing season's coming up. But I'd like to do some live streams somehow while we're plowing. Don't know how I'm gonna do them yet, but definitely think it'd be kind of cool for you guys to see us plowing live instead of just waiting a week to watch the video. So we'll see. But this whole live basically is just a trial run right now, just to see who's watching, figure out how the chat works. Never done one before. Been on YouTube for 10 years. I've never done a live stream. Very curious. I obviously about the new truck. A lot of the viewers probably don't know about the new truck, so but I'm very curious. I've never run a V plow before. Not that it's any major difference, but the controls there's a little more to just going side to side back. I'm excited, but gonna be a learning curve for the first hour or two when we're plowing farm. Um, Actually, I'm kind of. I mean, obviously got a new truck and want to plow with it, but I'm kind of leaning towards depending on the storms, putting that plow on another truck. I just don't want to beat my truck up. New one. It's brand new, so I don't want to like back it into a wall tree or something for a storm and smash it all up. So I might actually throw that plow because it's the Fleet Flex. I can put on any of the trucks. Might put it on another truck just for the first couple. I'm interested in how good it works. Should I leave a little water on my tarp? Like honestly, it's good in my opinion. I like to leave a little water on it. People don't understand why, but a lot of times when you get a lot of wind, the water actually keeps it holding it down a little. Personally, a little bit of water is not bad. On the water, it starts getting a lot of weight and kind of pulling in. Personally, we actually had a pool we closed a couple weeks ago. It was an above ground pool, and the wind was blowing like crazy, and the cover was almost flapping off. And we actually took the customer's hose out and sprayed some water on the cover and put some water, about a half inch to an inch of water on the to hold it down. Customer thought we were crazy for doing it, but it kept the cover down. It's totally up to you. I would try to pump off as much as you can, but a little bit of water on is look at it. Yeah, I agree on the dump truck, 100%. I hooked it up to white truck F-250, the white one last week, just to I wasn't sure because there's an extra wire on this new plow. I wasn't sure if it was gonna work, so I hooked that one up. That's kind of I'm leaning towards the dump truck and the V plow, or the other white truck that has the boss spread. If you've been watching the channel, that one with the V plow. Both of those do the commercials. That easy twos. Yeah, I the water thing. I mean, it's all personal preference. I mean, it's good to get a lot of the water off, but having a little bit's not gonna hurt. when we open pools, a lot of times we'll get most of the water off, and then if there's a little bit, we'll kind of pool it up and just pull the cover. You just don't want the cover falling, ripping. You get a lot of water on it, you could literally pull that cover right in the pool and shred it to pieces. So a little water's not going to kill it. Yeah, you're right. They never do last a few years. So I got to get a solid safety cover. They're expensive unless you have an above ground pool. Ground pools, you don't really have enough to do a tarp. You have it in ground or above ground, but in ground pool safety covers are the way to go, but they're expensive. This is interesting. It looks like I got a mix right here. Some of you guys are watching the pool stuff. Some of you guys are watching the snow stuff. So if you're just joining this live, I'm just kind of doing a trial run. I've never done a live before. Just trying to see what our audience is, who watches what videos, because we have a lot of obviously the snow content coming up, snow plowing. That's what a lot of the viewers on this channel like. But obviously, we're a pool company at the end of the day, and we post a lot of pool stuff. So, what kind of snow blowers do you guys use? I actually have one right behind me right here, and I got one brand new one in a box. So, I love this thing, Power Clear Toro. We bought this last year. It's wicked light. I can literally pick this up and throw it in the back of the pickup truck. And I actually just bought another one right here, brand new in a box. So that's what we've been using. Um, last couple of, actually, we bought that last year. So that was the first time with it. We do have a big, like, one of the big, big ones that need ramps, but it's a pain to get those into the truck during the storms. So those we just pick up, throw in the truck. When we're done, throw it back in. One person can handle them. They actually rip through the snow for such a little snow blower. Beats a shovel, I'll tell you that. Quad ramps do help. It's well, these are cheap enough. I mean, I think what they cost, like $700. I think they're worth every penny. What do you think you might get for snow? Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen this winter because it's November. I don't know what the date is right now. It's been pretty cold. The last like 2 weeks have been a lot colder than normal, and it's looks like it's gonna be cold all next week. So I feel like we're gonna have an early winter. I think it's gonna mean we always get like an early December storm, like a couple inches. It's so hard to, you never know. It the last couple winters have sucked. Obviously if you probably can't see me anymore. If you watch channel for a while, the last couple winters have absolutely sucked. So we'll see. I'm hoping for an average winter, couple big storms, couple little storms. We do a ton of salting and sanding. That's kind of been our money maker the last pretty much every year, and at this point, usually salting and sanding events. Blah, blah, blah. Yep, I agree. We're in Massachusetts, so a little more south of you. We get a lot more, obviously, salting and sanding than we do plowing, but I have a feeling we're going to be. I already got one of the salt spreaders on one of the trucks just to be safe, but I have a feeling we're going to be out sooner than later. Right now, it's 35, which feels colder than it normally is this time of year, but maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm a pool guy. Anything below 50 is cold, but I don't know. I'm hoping for an early and long, busy season this year. You know, we can't predict it, unfortunately. Verified yap here. Do you ever stop the live stream? I'm supposed to talk. What do you want me to sit here in silence? I'll just not talk if you don't want me to. If I'm talking too much. There's no whole point of doing a live stream to talk. Chloride on concrete. Yep. Calcium chloride. We forget the exact ingredients on the ice melts and stuff we use, but we we have like three different blends of ice melt that we keep on the trucks for different things. I'm a troll. At least you admit it. I love it. I get a lot of trolls. I'm a troll on some Facebook groups. I jump into like the homeowner pool industry groups, people do it yourself pools and stuff like that, and I troll people. But then back to the ice melt stuff. You buy salt from a distributor stock on your own. We have we have a bulk salt pile. We buy it in bulk. So we have usually 30 tons, whatever a trailer load is. Usually we buy a full trailer load at the beginning of the season. Last year we blew through that by like January, and I think we ended up getting a second one. I only used half of it, so I don't know the math, but we do a good amount. We do last year. I think we did 16, 17 salting, salt runs. So, good amount. Just a little joke. I get a lot of trolls, unfortunately, on social media, but it is what it is. Ready for winter, I think. Yep, I was literally just saying that about the winter. I think I'm hoping for an earlier start. I mean, our trucks are pretty much all ready. We're ready to go, and we're kind of dead with pool work. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, my case of shock, I guess. That's a good question. Shot it does lose its strength. I mean, we last year we had a probably 10 cases left over that sat for the winter. And I mean, they still work. They come out of the bottle, they're like 12% chlorine or something like that, they're supposed to be. So if anything keeps sitting, they might be a little weakened, it might be like 10 or 8%. It still works, it just might not be 100% as strong. We always have leftovers at the end of the season. We try to use it all up, but kind of inevitable. We sit on some stock the winter. So yeah, I think we had about 10 cases sitting. We used them in the spring. They still work though. I mean, we had one pool that was green as a swamp. I think we threw in like one whole case and the thing cleared up within 24 hours. It'll still work. That's the only thing about liquid shock and stuff like that. It kind of over time will lose its strength, but stuff still works. It's interesting. I didn't know what I was going to get doing a live. I didn't know if I was going to get, getting a mix of pool questions and questions. And that's perfect. That's exactly what our channel is all about. Penta Sandal is still relevant in 2025. They're still around. We don't do a lot of Pentair. Our area is a lot of Hayward, which is their competitor. We actually did the last 2 days. We actually did two full filter installations, and both were Hayward sand filters. They're all almost the exact same thing. It's the same concept. It's a tank full of sand, the multi-port valve. But that sand dollar filter, I believe, is still around. Uh, they may have a lot of the filters are still the same. They just rebrand them under different model names. But I'm a big sand filter guy. I think they work just fine. Nothing wrong with them. Salted bread and butter man too. They get lost. Yeah, I wish. So I have a vacation house up in Maine. Well, not a vacation. It's family has a house up there. Put it that way. We're inland up there. We're like probably 45 minutes west of Portland, kind of up in the mountains, and they get buried every time we go up there. Like we'll be driving up, it's like getting into Maine, there's some snow, and then once you get off, the further you get into the inland, it's more and more snow. And then we get to like where our house is, and it's just 3 feet of snow sometimes. We're lucky to even get snow down where we are. Do they brine the roads for the big storm? Brine's becoming really popular. Not every town uses it around us, but it's starting to. A lot of the pre-treat around here is becoming, brine, and then they'll just use rock salt. Rock salt's still a big thing in our area. The brine is definitely taken off. We, if you guys are OG followers of the channel, we made a kind of a makeshift homemade brine setup. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago. There's a video on the channel. If you type in on this in like looking on our channel, type in like homemade brine tank or what I worded it, but we made our own out of like a 375-gallon uh, tote and a small little pump. We actually made our own back mixer to like make the brine. We actually used it and it worked, but it just to make what we need, thousands of gallons of it. It's feasible. So we really thought about it. Close to town. Oh yeah. They'll pellet you. Yeah, the brine's definitely getting and it makes sense. It works. It's just it's not popular enough in our area where some guys are starting to stock it, but like, if we were to get a full brine setup, it's like trying to find the actual brine mix to fill first, up is I don't know even know where you get it around here. Yeah, I'm glad that answers your question. They do brine the roads around here, especially the state. A lot of little towns don't. Some towns actually still use sand around here too, believe it or not. Little towns. They'll use like a sand salt mix, but it's very rare to see sand on the roads now. At least here, I know. Like I was just saying a few minutes ago, I have a house up in Maine. You go up there and like all you guys do up there is sand the roads. I feel like the pre-treat it helps for the first little bit, but like a couple hours into the storm, especially like traffic, everything gets so packed in. It's I don't know. It works for a little bit, but it's not worth it. Yeah, the brine stuff. I think there's two guys around me that do the brine, but I don't know to what extent. Like, if it's just for their companies or they sell it to the public. I know they sell it in like, batches of like the big the 375 gallon, like whatever the heck you call them. I just don't know how it would work for us. I mean, I really like the idea of it. But I'll just it's easy, just dump it in the back of the spreader, drive around. It never gets too cold around here, so it's no matter what, it's gonna work. I think there's only been like two storms where it got too cold where it didn't work too well, but we just use treated salt. Nah, the treated salt seemed to work fine because once you get water and it starts slushing down, it will dissolve. We had an ice storm here 2 years ago that it was no matter what you put put stuff down, it would just freeze up, and we just kept having to hit it. It just got so bad that we did have treated salt, but it wasn't working too well. We ended up getting like this crazy blend that like melted like on contact. We got that, so it started melting, getting water down, and then we put the regular salt down. Everybody has their own way of doing it, or right or wrong way. At the end of the day, as long as you get the ice off the property and it's clear and no one falls and gets hurt, you're doing it. It's good to know that you guys are actually tuning into this live. Like I said, if you just join in, I've never done a live before, so I'm just trying to see how this all works. I'm trying to get an idea of who is watching the videos. I kind of haven't posted a ton lately, but we're planning on really jumping back into videos. Getting them up weekly and stuff like that. And it's good to see that I'm getting a mix between pool comments about pools and comments about snow plowing because obviously we do both. I've always thought, most of this channel was, the followers are for the snow plowing stuff, which I definitely know a lot of you guys like that more. It's good to see I'm getting some comments about pools because that's obviously our bread and butter. And I've been doing pools for 20 years, so I could tell you a bit just about anything and everything about a pool and questions. So you say if you had a pool for a summer, it was a beauty. There's some nice pools out there. Um, this may sound crazy, but I try to stay away from those fancy ones. It's just well, we do a lot of pool closings, obviously, and it's these fancy, really nice pools. Some of them are very hard to close. There's a lot of liability with it, obviously. If you have a line that you don't blow out right, or you miss because it's just a complicated system, you're liable. So our bread and butter has actually been more the basic pool. How dirty is a sand filter used to play? Yep. No, you're dead on the money with dirty. Customers think I'm crazy when I explain this to them, but if you read the manual, go by the book, they tell you change the sand every 3 to 5 years or whatever. The dirtier the sand, I mean, there's a point where it gets too dirty, but there's basically a point where it actually works better when it's dirty. The new sand obviously can be porous. It's not packed tight, so water, particles, small stuff can slip through. You'll notice it too sometimes, like if it's newer sand or like you just backwash or something like that. Sometimes you get a spurt of crap coming out. A lot of times when the sand gets dirty, it gets packed with other stuff, like pine needles and like other debris, and actually kind of packs later, and it will actually filter better. I know that sounds crazy. Believe it or not, like we have a lot of pollen up here in the spring, and sometimes the pollen will actually coat the top of the bed of sand. So when the water's filtering, it actually filters better. At least I found. Call me crazy, but I mean it definitely, you know, there is a lifespan. The sand does get old sometimes. It gets packed so tight that it doesn't filter anymore. So um, sometimes I say every 5 years check it. If it's hard like and crusty, then you obviously want to change it. But if it's nice and you can kind of pick it up and it's still fine, just give it a couple good backwashes and you'll be good. Cool setup. And why not sand blow back in the pool? So sand blowing back is usually a lateral. Obviously in a sand filter, you got the standpipe that goes down the middle. So it's just like literally a pipe. and then you get the laterals at the bottom of the pipe at the bottom of the filter. So those laterals, just because sand, the sand that goes in a sand filter is more pebbly than like mesa sand or you know sand that you'd have in like a beach or something like that. Obviously, the pressure over the water and over time can start kind of breaking those laterals away. And obviously, chlorine and chemicals and stuff like that start open up the laterals. That and then what happens a lot of times too is, believe it or not, the multi-port valve, you got one that you turn, from filter to backwash, that start to wear out where, the gasket in there can kind of stick a little bit. So I've had that happen before where it's not shutting all the way and you can get some blowback. PE sander sample. I actually have done that, not a lot, but I've done that like twice in my entire career. We had a pool that just wasn't clearing up. I mean, like literally, no matter what we did, we tried clarifiers, we tried everything. And, we actually tried like a filter. It was like supposed to be like a DE type material, but that didn't work. So I actually got a scoop of DE and tried it, and I mean, I can't say if it worked or not. I mean, the pool eventually cleared up, but I have had people do something like that. The only problem is just gonna be careful because if you put too much in, it could blow back to the pool. Now you have DE in your pool. Gosh, what was my name? Backyard. That's the worst part about being a pool company. We do a lot of sand filters and earth filters that we have to backwash, and obviously pools we have to drain. And the amount of times we've had nosy neighbors, or if like we're draining it and the water's going out on the street, we actually had a guy lose his mind one time on us. We were backwashing it, and the backwash line ran to the front yard. But obviously, from doing it for a while, we were closing the pool, so we were trying to backwash and drain the water down. The water ended up on the street a little bit, so it was, there's a little bit of a river going down the street, nothing crazy. The guy literally came flying up, started taking pictures, re- ended up reporting us to the town. They were contaminating the water system and blah blah blah, just being a jackass. It's like, what do you want me to do? The backwash line was buried in the front yard, and we had to drain the pool down. So no, I most of the pool heaters are gas, electric, propane. That's usually the three. One customer years ago kind of built their own with something you see online, like a fire pit, but with an above ground pool is kind of like a janky setup. Yeah, if you guys are just joining, you guys have probably been here for the whole time, but just trying to live out for the first time, trying to see who is watching the videos, get a feel for our audience, stuff like that. Obviously, if you've been following the channel for a while, you've kind of seen me took a little break for a little bit. There's a video explaining that. I'm not going to get into details, but planning on really jumping back into YouTube, especially this winter and next year. I'm hoping my wife will actually start helping edit some of the videos. Problem, we just get so busy. I just can't, I don't have any time to sit and make a video. I film almost all the time. I got thousands of hours of like stuff we did this summer. I just haven't had time to make videos. So for the winter. It depends. Above ground pools, we can obviously break the systems down easier. So we'll break down the pumps, and customers usually take them inside. In ground pools, most of them stay out unless the customer obviously wants it to. But I mean, I leave mine out. Obviously it's covered, and I'm a pool guy, so I can obviously easily get a replacement pump at a discount. So um, I would bring it in if I could. I can. I'm lazy. Um, Two doctors show you mine right now. Yeah, I can't see anything, but it's personal preference. I mean, I always say if you can bring them in, bring them in. If not, just cover 'em. Were you plowing the slush into your camera? Oh yeah, yeah. So that camera guy's my cousin David. He's been obviously you see him on all the videos. I obviously did that on purpose, but that was one of those storms where like it just started downpouring rain like halfway towards the end, and I was getting a lot of shit that we were plowing, slush, which obviously it's impossible to clean that stuff up. We were just having fun at that point. We had been plowing for 20 hours and just whatever, and he was sitting on top of the pile. He kind of set himself up for that, and I figured it was gonna be a good shot, so I went for it. Absolutely pummeled with slush. The amount of hate though I got in the comments for that video of us plowing slush, and I actually, I don't know if you guys follow us at Instagram or whatever, Facebook, but we had a kid get into it with another kid in the comments. I think it was a Facebook. It was a video from that exact storm, and he got offended over something. And then I wasn't even involved. It was just two people going at it in the comments. He turned around and left my business a fake review on Google, and it's still there actually. If you go on, type in Crowley Pool Service, you probably see it from last winter. He left a 1-star review saying we're racist and this and that, all because he was getting beat up in the comments from another kid. So yeah, funny story, but it was Super Pump no longer made. No, they're still made. I have one in here somewhere actually. Didn't I brought it back? Not at my shop. I don't have a lot of pool stuff here. I don't. Give it back to the shop. The Hayward Super pumps are still made. Those are the most common pumps. Still, they redesigned them. There's actually 3 models of them now. There's like the standard one. There's the XE version, which is like a 3-speed, and there's a variable speed version of them. Those are the most common pumps, honestly. Of the 1,000 pools we probably touch a season, I would say 75%, 80% have those pumps. Good pump. There was a bad batch back, I don't know, 2021, 20, and like basically post-COVID era that, they were, coming out of the box and not working. They actually discontinued that model. They've been through a few different, remodel, we want to call it, in the last couple of years, and the new ones are good. But there was a bad batch like right after COVID that had a fan cooled motor on the back, and there was just nothing but issues. But the new ones are good, and they're good. The new ones too. What you saying 240 was so much. They're all dual speed now. So even if like before you, not that you've probably wired a pool pump in before, but before you had to either buy a 240-volt pump or a 120-volt pump, and you couldn't switch, or you had to rewire it a certain way. Now you can just wire it right in, and the pump knows what voltage it is. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, Hayward's out of all the three. There's 3 big names in the industry: is Pentair, Hayward, and Jandy's becoming a big one. There's obviously a couple other ones too. Basically, those are the big three. What we call them. A lot of the companies like Hayward's bought a lot of the smaller companies like Stay Right, and actually Pentair bought Stay Right. Basically, those three have bought all the smaller companies, and now they're all just like the big three. Like I got some Jandy stuff sitting over here on the shelf. Never got to actually put these on my pool, but we use a lot of Jandy stuff. They've become real popular with us over the last couple of years. You can install that. It's actually a really cool, unique. It's a replacement. So you basically, if you have a pool timer, one of the old time clocks, you can put that on your time clock, and then you can control your phone. Yeah, control your pool through your phone. So you never got around to doing that this summer. Let's see, to here 240 will always be better. I absolutely agree with the 240 there. A lot of the older pools though in the area, like we work on pools that are 40, 50 years old. A lot of them are still 120, but 240 is definitely, especially when you're getting, a bigger pump. A lot of these big pumps now, they're not bigger, but they just, bigger impellers, they take more power and stuff. Those around here won't touch pool stuff. That's why we do obviously our own pool plumbing. We're not plumbers by say. I've never went to school for plumbing, but we do it all ourselves. Require bonding test. Yep. Anytime you do a new pool, or like we're gonna do a big, we did a big renovation this year, and we're doing a huge one next spring. We got to rebond the pool, so electrician's got to do that. It's got to get basically bond wire is going to get run around to the basic from the equipment to anything metal on the pool, lagged into anything, certain points around the pool, all that kind of stuff. And then it's got to get inspected before anything can happen. So there's a lot of regulations on. Well, obviously we live in Massachusetts, so everything's regulated. Yeah, it's just as bad as California, but um, you have to have everything inspected. It's all that good stuff. Intermatic timer. So that's what I have. I'll show you actually. So the old Intermatic right here. You see this thing here is actually box showed that this thing here is pretty cool. It's basically There's no picture on the box. I'm not gonna rip it out, but it literally you take the center part, the time clock, the yellow piece, it spins. If you take that out of the timer, you gotta obviously take some wires out. There's a piece in that box that goes right in there that you rehook everything to, and then it hooks up to your phone somehow. Don't ask me how, but basically this converts that intermatic timer into an automation thing so I can turn my pool pump on without flicking it or setting the timer. Nothing wrong. I mean, 90% of pools have the old school timers like that with them. Just obviously technology these days. Yep. Yeah, Massachusetts is tough with everything. Everything, literally. Insurance. I'm gonna make a video coming up about plowing insurance because I just got a new quote that was insane, and I'm getting more quotes now, but they're all actually insane just to plow snow. Um, I mentioned it in the other live that cut out on me, but like, and I'm gonna make a video about this next week. I don't know what I'll title it, but it'll be like kind of like, is it even worth plowing snow anymore? Uh, it's insane the amount of regulations between having the trucks inspected and this and that. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for your registrations, and then insurance. Nothing's cheap in Massachusetts. Yeah, they are super strict. I mean, it's a good thing though. I mean, there's a lot of pools out there that don't have you know, the right stuff. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we go to a pool and we don't even see a bonding wire. Pools back in I don't even know. I think I'd say probably the 70s and 80s, even early 90s. The codes were different, and can't tell you how many times we'll go to like put a new pool pump in or go to a new pool we've never been to, and there's like no bonding, no grounding. Just everything was done different back in the day, and it's like you just scratch your head. And nowadays, like everything has to be, which is good. It's all for safety. You don't want to mix electricity and water. The towns of Hesse have interest. Yeah, so a lot of towns around here, and they're beg. It's funny. Any of you guys that are watching that are from Massachusetts, you're probably seeing the signs up everywhere. The towns in the state are so desperate for plow drivers right now. It's actually crazy. Every town I've been through, they have the boards out. The usually the sign boards. They're all looking for plow drivers. Every single town I've been in, even the state, like on the highways. The problem with plowing for the town is it's just one, they require expensive insurance, and two, I mean, they pay depending on the truck. Like if you have a big, big, big truck, with the combo, combos, what they call them, the side plows and the systems, you make some good money, doing the highways. Like if I was to take my pickup truck and put it on town, they'd probably pay us, 100, $120 an hour, which some of you guys, if you don't know, snow sound good, but in all reality, you break that down, that's not good money at all. We can make that in three driveways. We charge, 50, $60 a driveway. You do three of them in an hour, you're making the same amount. And the thing with plowing for towns too is a lot of times you don't get called out. Like a small storm, like a 3-inch storm, the town will handle it with their own guys, you don't get the call. And a buddy who plowed for the town a couple of years ago, and I felt like it's like we were going out all the time, and he plowed like 20 a year. Yeah, I got screwed over. Yeah, towns do use a lot of private stuff. State too. Obviously, they got their own trucks, but it's kind of I mean, I'm not a huge snow industry follower. Obviously, I plow snow. It's not our main business, but a little bit. But everyone seems to be getting out of it in our area. It's just not what it used to be. Said this in the last live that cut out on me. Winters are just not what it used to be at all. They we don't get really crazy winters anymore. Just jinx us. We'll probably get a crazy winter this year. I mean, we're due. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yep, I agree. I remember as a kid, there'd be snow on the ground on Christmas every single year, guaranteed. I truthfully don't think there's been a white Christmas in like the last 10 years. There was actually, that's a lie. I believe 6 years ago, we actually had snow on Christmas Day. Out of nowhere, too. They didn't even forecast it. We got like 3 inches of snow Christmas morning, and I spent the whole day plowing. That was the last Christmas. Yeah, it's definitely not the same weather around here. Of course, where I am in Massachusetts, it's south of, I'm kind of towards Cape Cod a little bit. I'm in between Cape Cod and Boston, so we're on the South Shore. Obviously, you guys from the area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're not from Massachusetts, you have no clue what I'm talking about. But we're kind of in. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in lies, but I call it the fuck you zone. Basically, where the rain snow line always is, and we'll either get a lot of snow or we won't. And anytime these storms come in, it fights the ocean air, the warm ocean air. So we either get a heavy wet snow or we get a mix between rain and snow flipping back to forth. It's very, very rare that we get like a straight snowstorm. It's a lot of where, we're specifically located, but you go inland a little bit, you get a lot more. It's definitely not the winters are definitely not what they used to be. Wintery mix, absolutely. Everything's like a rain, snow, or sleet or freezing rain type. It's never a straight snowstorm anymore. And whatever, we all make money off of it. I'd rather plow snow than deal with ice and stuff. And problem with plowing slush is it freezes up afterwards, and then usually it makes a mess. But obviously, we make money off salt, so it's like can't choose your battles. I'm glad this live actually turned out. Like I said, if you guys are following us, I've never done a live before and plan on doing a lot more of these, especially when we get into plowing season, stuff like that. Even maybe doing some jobs. Want to test it out, honestly. See if we even. Glad actually you guys are commenting and I'm answering questions too. Actually, don't mind answering pool questions and stuff like that. Earliest you open a pool? Uh, usually first week in April, I think is usually the earliest. Um, It's a tough one because you don't wanna unless you have a heater, it's more a lot of liability. Like, I'm getting calls for pool closings right now, and it's been below freezing almost every night. So we won't take them on just for liability because God forbid, I know most pipes haven't froze yet, but it's just God forbid something froze up already. We close that pool, even if we didn't know about it, we didn't do it, we're liable for it. So that's the same with openings, early season openings. If you open too early and get some cold nights, and God forbid something's frozen, it's tough. You just don't want to take that liability on. Once you own a business, you kind of, if you business owners are out there, liability is a big thing. You just, you got to pick and choose and be smart about it, especially with pools. I think our earliest last year was like, I think the second week in April. I think one year we did one the first week in April, but I've never opened a pool earlier than that. We stopped pool work though mid March if there's no snow. Like last year, we were working like St. Patty's Day. Yeah, that week. Birthday is actually St. Patty's Day, and I was working on my birthday on a pool, which years ago. So yeah, it's you just gotta be careful with the opening closings too early, too late because you don't want any freeze ups. We're we're hard PVC, flex pipes what a lot of pool builders use, but if you actually watch my last two videos I just put up, both those pools we were fixing flex pipe issues. Flex pipe's good for a couple of years, but we have a lot more issues with flex than we do. Oh, I mean, over time, flex decay and break down and kinks and rots, and there's a lot of stuff that can happen with flex, especially on older pools. So we like the hard PVC for like doing replums. It's guaranteed it's not going to break unless you don't winterize the pool. Flex is good. Obviously, it doesn't freeze and crack, but there's a lot of negatives with like decaying. One of these days at the shop, I'll show it in a video or maybe I'll show it in a live. Like, we have a whole shelf at the shop of like whenever we're finding leaks and fixing leaks, we'll cut out what the leak was if it's something cool. And most of the stuff on the shelf was all flex pipe, damage, damage, root damage, kinks, crack, and all that kind of stuff. Can you change out a skimmer weir without cutting the whole thing out? Depends. I mean, you're talking about the flapper, I'm assuming, the weir door that flaps back and forth. I'm assuming because if that's the case, like those get stuck sometimes, and I've had to break them out. If that's what you're talking about, what happens a lot of times with skimmers, honestly, in an in-ground pool is just like the weight, depending on what it's backfilled with. The skimmer can actually like where the weir goes, the opening can actually kind of push in a little bit from the pressure of the dirt behind the pool. So what happens a lot of times is those weirs will move, and then sometimes like you'll notice them be getting stuck. that's a lot of times from that skimmer kind of, pulling in and getting stuck. I've had some that have gotten so stuck that I've had to, get in there with like a flathead screwdriver, like break the tabs off to like break it out. We've had a few that just we literally couldn't get out, but they get tough. The older the pool, the skimmers start to kind of, obviously close in on themselves. I've had plenty of pools that don't even have those too. I mean, they're good and bad. I mean, they're seen them run obviously without them. It's good. It helps the skimmer obviously, pull in and get a good draw. And when it shuts off at night, it keeps the stuff from coming out into the pool. But I mean, we see every single situation being in the pool industry, but I'd say 50% of pools probably don't even have those, believe it or not. We see it all. Obviously, we see some pools that are, just you shake your heads and not running right, and you see some that are pristine, and the customer keeps up with them all. Um, yeah, you can if it's getting stuck and I can't get it out. You can break it out. You just gotta be careful not to break the skimmer. That's um, I've never seen it happen where we are, but seen it in like groups I'm in like California and stuff like that. It can happen. Basically, you kind of think of it like a boat, Um, just use this cooler as an example. Basically, this is sitting in the ground. It's a shell. And if you get a high water table around that with no pressure holding it down, technically that water table could float the pool up out of the ground. They put, so they should have in every single one what's called the hydrostatic valve down the main drain. So if there is a high water table, that valve opens and it basically equalizes the groundwater with the pool water. So even if the pool is leaking and going down, that valve should open so that way the pool doesn't float. I've been doing pools for 19 years. Next year will be 20. I've never personally seen one float in my area. It can happen with fiberglass pools too, actually, believe it or not. Fiberglass pools, though, when they install them, they put a kind of like a French drain system around them. So they don't float essentially. But I've seen them float in California, those areas are like on the beach, mostly just in like Facebook groups and stuff. It happened into the pool. That's a damn good question. We had to do one last spring. There really is no easy way unless you like we do a lot of vinyl liner pools, so you can obviously take the liner out of the pool and get underneath it. Those are easy to fix, but you really just have to put a new line in. So what we had to do with that one is we had to put a new line in, but you had to get it out of the pool some way. And this pool we were doing a renovation. We had to take the steps out, so we dug the trench up where the steps were. That was the easiest way to do it, but I mean it's tough because there's no really easy way with a concrete pool to fix one of those lines because you'd have to jackhammer all the concrete out to get the line out of the pool. Technically, you'd have to go through the wall to get underneath to the back of the pool. So uh, we have a lot of older pools around here that just if the line's leaking and whatever, they get a diver or something like that, or they drain the pool, they go down, and they put a plug in it, and then up at the pool pad, they'll cut the line out, put a cap on it, and just put out of service. It's like a bear. Does you sing? I'm not singing. I don't sing. A lot of old pools, they'll paint them. I've only painted one pool my entire career. I don't do a lot of be honest, I don't do a lot of concrete pool stuff. We did this was like my first actually it was my first year in business. I was just taking any job I could take on just to kind of get my feet wet and get started. One of them was painting a pool and it was kind of a homemade concrete pool. It wasn't like a traditional pool. And I mean we followed every direction. We power washed it, acid washed it. You had to put the primer coat down on the paint and then you had to paint like three times, let it dry and seal. The problem with the paint, it lasts like 2 or 3 seasons and it fades. The pool, it was a blue paint and it was like faded by like the third year. I try not to mess with the pool painting stuff just because it was a lot of work, especially these like vinyl liner and stuff like that. Yeah, the painting's tough because no matter what you do, obviously chemicals, if you're not balancing your chemicals right, it could cause like, like you're probably seeing bubbling or it to peel off, stuff like that, you gotta let it cure. So it's a lot in build up. It could be. Basically with if it's a pebble tech pool or it's got, whatever the finish is. Calcium, if the calcium's low or even high, low calcium can actually break down the concrete, and it basically the water, like say you have a low calcium number, and if you test in your pool, it can actually take calcium out of the pool structure, believe it or not, because basically water's looking for calcium, so it's going to take it out of the pool. That will basically stop breaking down. Like a lot of pools we see, the older pools around here, the tiles are falling off. When you brush it, you can see like a trail of, dust. That's usually because the calcium levels are just not right. On the other side, if that calcium's too high, it can calcify and scale, and it could honestly be either or. There's I'm not a huge expert on concrete pools. I mean, obviously, I know chemistry and stuff like that, but those are usually the two things I've always been taught and told. pH can obviously affect that too. If your pH too acidic, it could obviously start kinda eating away at some of the pool structure. Obviously, finishes just get old on pools. Where he turns up or down. The right way is down, but if you ask a customer, they want them up. You really want them pointing down. So essentially, you want them down so it mixes up the water. If that makes so, when it goes down, the water's going to turn. Fortunately, the customers we deal with, when we open a pool, what we usually do, just because we always get complaints about we didn't put them right. They want them up and down. So we'll generally, if there's more than one, like if a pool is three of them, we'll put the deep end always down to mix up as much as we can. If there's one in the middle, I'll put that up, and then if there's one in the shallow end, I'll put that down. At the end of the day, basically, you want the pool moving. You want circulation, water movement, all different directions. You can obviously put it up for certain times of the year, like pollen season. Like my own pool, I'm not gonna lie, I'll put mine up and push everything towards my skimmer. Depends on the pool too, where your skimmers are. But obviously, when it's pointing up, it's just getting to the surface. It's not really mixing the water up. The book, if you're a pool guy, and if I think if you actually have to take any of the CPO courses or like, become certified in maintenance tech or whatever, it's gonna tell you to point it down. And that's the way it should be. But customer's sake and by just experience by doing this 20 years and probably going to 50, 60,000 pools and different people, the customers always want it up so they can see the rippling of the water. That answers that question. I mean, at the end of the day, if your pool's staying clear, I guess it doesn't matter. But I mean, down is the technical correct answer in my opinion. Depends what kind of shock you're using. So if you're using liquid shock, I mean, I usually just walk around the perimeter of the pool and just make sure it's not going in one spot. You don't want to just dump it in one area. Pool's running. If you're using powdered shock, that one you're gonna be careful with 'cause you don't want to just throw it in because that will settle on the bottom and could stain. Liquid shock, I usually just do a lap around the pool. I do focus more like on the deep end, like if there's a return line there, I'll dump a little more in that general area where the water's moving. That way it just kind of disperses. Ultimately, the liquid shock's gonna disperse, but I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen probably everything you could possibly see with a pool. If you dump the shock into one area, basically, like I said, I've seen it all. I've seen people just dump it in one area, not mix it, and it stains. So you just don't want it to just sit in one area and not move. So deep end's usually good in front of the returns, or do a lap around the pool and just dump around the whole perimeter. And as long as the water's moving, it's fine. But sometimes I'll even take the brush into that and just kind of mix. Basically, just want to distribute it exactly like what you said. I've seen it all though. We actually did a brand new liner installation 2 summers ago. Brand new, beautiful liner. It was a darker pattern, and I don't know if the customer did it on purpose or if it fell out of. They had the chlorine tablets in a chlorinator, floating one. So I don't know if a chlorine tablet fell out when they were at home, or I don't know. But somehow a chlorine tablet ended up in the deep end of the pool on the liner and left a nice big white stain. So I've seen it before where like concrete pools, like you know new pool owners that have never had a pool before, they just throw them in and they're just sitting on the surface. You never want to do stuff like that. Same with like powdered shock. You don't want to just dump it into one spot and not, because what will happen is even if you dilute it or you sprinkle it nice and light, it's heavy, so it's gonna sink. And a lot of times, like if you throw it in one area, you get your brush even 5 minutes later and go and brush. There's gonna be a little bit of residue you're brushing up, and it's hasn't moved around. So anytime we do a lot of powdered chalk, it's easier for us to keep on the truck. But anytime we do powdered, we put it in front of the jet and then we brush it up and mix it up. Best way to do that one. What a whack full chemistry story. Oh god, so man. I'm out of whack chemistry. So I had a hot tub. It was it's not necessarily well, I've had a few pools that have been out of whack. So I had a hot tub once. I recall the saying that their skin and their eyes were burning when they were using it. It was a hot tub attached to a pool, so I guess you can kind of relate it to the pool. They had another pool company taking care of it. So we go there. I just I didn't get the test kit out. I had test strips in my pocket. I dipped it, and the test strips literally like melted. Like there was the colors on them were I've never even seen before. So I got test kit out, and it was so out of whack. I'm amazed that the customer actually didn't get chemical burns. The chlorine level, like test kits only test to a certain level. The chlorine was so high that we there's a chemical called chlorine neutralize that will drop it in a small little like 500-gallon hot tub. We put in like a pound of that, which is like what you would use in a pool, and it finally got chlorine to where it needed to be. We had to like, we had to basically. I think we ended up draining it and refilling it and starting fresh because it was so out of. Granted, this was a hot tub. I think it was attached to the pool. I've had a couple pools that have been very similar. It's just like what we see a lot is a lot of customers just they don't take care of their alkalinity. They just kind of focus on shock. They just shock their pool. That's all they do, and they never look at their pH levels. And a lot of times we'll test the pH level and it'll be like 5, 6, which is very acidic. It's gonna burn your eyes and stuff like that. And it's funny because you look at that and you look at their pool liner and their pool liner is white, and you wonder why. Mm. Craziest thing I found in a pool. I'm not gonna go back to my back shed. I actually found a decomposed turtle in my pool here when I bought my house here. Too dark out. I don't really feel like walking all the way to my backyard, but I actually have the shell in my shed. We bought this house last 2 years ago, and the pool here had been neglected really bad. And we were trying to get some of the crap out that was on the bottom just to see what we were working against. And we were scooping and scooping and scooping, and we pulled out, point of, you know, I couldn't tell what it was. I dumped it out, and it was literally a decomposed turtle shell with like all the bones and stuff of the turtle. So the pool is that bad that it killed the turtle and decomposed it. Um, I'm trying to think. I feel like we had a raccoon in a pool once. We get a lot of mice and a lot of chipmunks all the time. I think the turtle is one of the wildest one, and of course, it's my own pool. Fixed now. It was too dark to show you guys. Pool's closed anyway. Like all the questions. So you ever get ducks in the pool by I feel like I don't not often. We did have one pool a couple years ago that chronically always had one duck. No matter what we did, it wouldn't go away. And I don't know why. It was just that one specific pool. But no, not a lot of ducks, believe it or not. Did have one actually at the end of the year. I wasn't there for it, but I was looking at the service report. One of my guys was cleaning the pool, and he put it on the service report the duck swimming in the pool, and he actually said the duck was there the whole time. No, not a lot of ducks, believe it or not. Surprisingly, actually, you would think you would. I'm probably gonna give this like 5 more minutes. I've been on here for like an hour, but I'll probably jump off. I'm gonna go eat dinner. But no, I'm glad you guys are asking questions and stuff like that. It's good to know too, like you guys are actually watching these live videos. I've never done a live before. If you just follow, just checking in. I was just trying to see how this all worked, and I do enjoy actually answering all your questions. Might actually do these more often. Basically, answer any pool questions you got. So service questions, all that kind of stuff. Actually like teaching, believe it or not, especially pools. I've been doing pools 20 years, so answering question on pools is like I'm good at snow plowing too, but pools are kind of my bread and butter. Why can't water bags last the whole winter? We have a case, brand new out of the box this year that is 36 water bags in a case. We obviously buy 100 of them for the closing season. We have an entire case that I don't know if they were just a defective batch. every single one so far from that case that we've tried to fill up was leaking. So, but those are all obviously get sent back to our supply. Yeah, they just don't make them good. There's some real like you got to pay for them. They're big money, but there's some good brands out there. But no matter what, they're all just cheap and crap. You know, made overseas and they're just not made good. Anytime we close the pool that has water bags, I actually always leave like 3 or 4 extra ones there for the customer just in case they pop because they usually do pop. Yeah, no, I agree. They don't last. They never do. And anytime I can answer pool questions, I mean, I know we're getting into snow plowing season and off season here, so there won't be a lot of pool videos and stuff like that. But I'm trying, and I tried a little bit this year to every year. I've tried to make more pool videos explaining stuff. And I don't know how long you've been watching the channel, but I've the last couple of years I just we get so busy in the summer. I just don't have time to make videos. But I've always wanted to make like a how-to series on just like everything I can think of about a pool. How everything works, different videos, and just put a whole playlist so if you have questions. But I did make a lot of videos like how to close pools, like in depth, explaining things how we do it, which got a lot of views this fall. I think I got a pool opening video, so I want to eventually get into doing more of that, like answering questions. Obviously, I use YouTube all the time if I need to fix something. Like if I need to fix this tractor right here, or like anything. If I need to fix basically anything, I'll look it up on YouTube. And actually, my truck, I want to put lights on for plowing, and I'm just literally watching videos last night trying to find a video showing me how to actually wire the stuff. YouTube's a really good, how to, how to figure stuff out. It's a good search engine. So anytime I can answer questions, if it's a video and you have questions, put in the comments. I read every single comment you guys post. So the redo sprinkle, yeah. So our last video, I don't know if you watched it. I just put it out like 2 days ago, but we did I? Yeah, I did. Now when I was trying to think, I just put out 2 videos with we were digging. The last one we hit a sprinkler line and we did have to fix it. Wasn't a big one, but we had one summer. We built an above ground pool. It's at the video is on the channel. We hit every single sprinkler line in the backyard. And it was just like it was I could not believe it. We were building in the back corner of the backyard and it just it happened that the main box just happened to be in the back corner and we hit there was like 9 lines and we hit every single one of them. So it was a point they had to redo all their irrigation, but that was over our head. They had to, they got an irrigation company come in and it's kind of part of our contract. We were putting an above ground pool, we were installing it. It was kind of part of the contract that if we hit the irrigation, we're not responsible for it. You mark it out and they haven't marked it out. Generally, if we're doing like a repair, we're digging in the ground. Like our last video, if you watch it, we dug trenches along the side of the pool, put new plumbing in, and we did hit one of the lines. Well, it was a small. I don't think I filmed us fixing it, but it was just we had to put a little connector piece in. It wasn't a big deal. But anytime we break something, we obviously fix it. Just gonna bury it over and walk away. We always try to fix our mistakes. Obviously, be professional. Where do you live? We're seeing in Massachusetts. Well, you don't have to tell me the exact location, but yeah, I agree. Oh, Wareham, no shit. Uh, I'm like right next to you, literally. I want to tell everybody where I live, but I'm literally one of the towns right next to you. I could throw a rock to where I am. Yes, electrical. I agree. I hate touching it. I hate even wiring pool pumps. Yeah, we see some stuff. It's just you scratch your heads. Yeah, Weymouth. Yeah, we get a lot of Massachusetts guys in. Yeah, Weymouth. We do a ton of work in Weymouth. Ton of work in Weymouth. Ton of work like basically southeastern Mass. Our primary service area is like Weymouth, Braintree. I grew up in Canton, so that's like where our main hub is. Canton, Stoughton. So, we're trying to kind of branch out south. You guys that know Massachusetts, like I moved a little further south from that area. I'm not telling everybody where I live, but trying to branch further south now. If Phantom Power went off. Oh yeah, I got a quick story, and then I'm getting off because I've been on here for an hour. I whacked myself really good 2 years ago. So basically, I was working on this pool had two pool pumps. It had a main pool pump, and then it had what they call a booster pump, which was for the spa. And the spa, everything was supposed to be on its own. The spa was supposed to be separate from and I thought everything was off. So this was 2 years ago, so I may or may not be getting it right, but I'm pretty sure I checked to make sure the power was dead on the pump I was working on, and I'm pretty sure I got on the voltmeter showing it was when I went to unwire it, the second I hit it with the screwdriver, my the pool pump was like right in between a chain link fence, so there was like not a lot of room. So my elbow was like pushing on the fence, trying to push the back of the pool pump up, to get room at it. And the second I hit put the screwdriver on, that loosen up to get the wires off, I got whacked and it went right out my elbow, right into the fence. And yeah, that was scary. I was actually bleeding from it. That one, like, literally, I was scratching my head 'cause, there was and I'm pretty sure I went back and rechecked it again. I don't know. So, I killed all the power to everything, and then I worked on it, so I'll never forget that one. I usually get minorly alarmed every year, if that makes sense. We got, do I have it in here? I got rid of it. We got, we had a weird one this year. We're doing a liner replacement. Anytime we do a liner replacement, we bring a couple water tanks with us. So we have a little sub pump we put in the water tanks to put the water in the pool to set the line. The pump from pulling it in and out of the pools and stuff like that, the wire must have came loose from the guys pulling on the wire. And the pump was working, but it was actually putting electricity into the water to the point where I was out at the pool 200 feet away. And if you touched the water, you got shocked. So, say that pump. I think I have it in the garage here somewhere. I'm just not gonna go dig for it, but pump got thrown out. Well, I kept it, but I gotta get rid of it. But it woke me up, trust me. I usually get whacked at least once a year. It's kind of inevitable being a pool guy. Wet hands, especially shutting like a pool timer off, your hands wet and it slips. You get one of the leads or something. It definitely wakes you right up.